Lane One Talk Show, episode 20. I'm your host, Philip Reed, with my co-pilot, Mark Weezar. How are we doing today, Mark?
We're doing good, man. 3-day weekend. Super excited for whenever those roll around. Shout out MLK. Did a lot of good things for the U.S. Did a lot of good things for people of color, of all color too. Me being brown, you being half brown, half black. Shout out to MLK, man.
Shout out MLK. This episode, we wanted to talk about our recent trip to Lubbock, Texas for the U.S. Cross Championships last weekend. Interesting event, Mark. What are your first couple reactions?
It was a PA meet, man. That's the vibes that it gave me. Was similar to the small meets that we were going to, and it's ironic because this is the USA Cross Country Championships, and it's a little interesting that we had a field of 27 people show up for a USA meet.
Yeah.
But guess in the grand scheme of things, it's an off year. Lubbock, Texas is not the easiest place to get to in terms of travel, so it's relatively expensive to get there in terms of like versus flying to a major city and whatnot. But overall, it was a fun trip.
It was a fun trip.
Time. I mostly took it, to be honest, to hang out with you and Sean and just kind of get the hell out of Dodge for a little bit and keep a carrot on the map. So like for context, we raced on January 11th.
Yeah.
So for me, my big emphasis is going to be indoor this year for the winter, and it was nice to have something on the calendar, like something when I'm in the holidays, because oftentimes that's a lot of going out, that's a lot of eating poorly, that's a lot of skipping doubles, skipping runs, skipping workouts, or consuming more alcohol than normal. So having that so close to the holidays for me was like, okay, we got to keep the workouts the main thing. We got to keep the mileage the main thing. So I have a race that I like kind of care about in terms of how I perform and how I finish, and where the competition is actually still good, to where I have to keep an honest training over the holidays. So that's kind of my initial thoughts on it. It was something to put on the calendar as I keep training through the holidays. And overall, it was a fun time. The race itself, we'll get into that a little bit, but those are my initial takeaways.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I wanted something on the calendar. I wanted something to keep me honest over the holidays, because I, in a similar way, but a little bit differently, like you get complacent, and, I wanted to be consistent over the holidays and still keep that, keep the expectations high. Yeah. Also, like, I like these winter passion projects. We've talked about that before, right? Like I've been a big fan of, like, whether it's Houston or US Cross or the Mesa half. Like, I like these, like, sort of like bridge season endeavors, because you can accidentally, like, run fast. And
you can have a result you're proud of.
You kind of extend. I like extending the winter fitness, as we see a lot of the collegiates doing these days too, like with extending their fall season, running something fast like 2 weeks after NCAA. So that was just, very similar to what I've done in the past. And yeah, just to go out with the boys again on another trip. And yeah, the quick takeaways was, Lubbock's a cool town. I never really saw myself ever going there, but it was I think they were on an academic break, because that's where Texas Tech is.
Yeah.
And it was huge university, great funding. Yeah, there goes a ghost town, man. It was, what was interesting for me, like, just like kind of being in the town, was like when we go to club nationals or we go to a big meet, there's a vibe about what's going on. And like, we went to dinner the night before, and the restaurant was like 75% empty. So it was like, it was a national championship, right? And coming off of Tacoma, where it was like super, there's hundreds and maybe even thousands of runners.
Yeah.
And to go in its, field of 27 men and 12 women, it was an interesting feeling.
Yeah. What kind of sat with me too, where you're talking about like that vibe. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it felt like a PA meet. Like, you kind of have to explain to people why you're in town. versus when you do go to these bigger races like a club cross, or you do go to like, I went to CIM one year to drive the boys when they're going for their Olympic trials marks in 2019, and my sister raced too. When we went up, what was interesting about that was you cannot find a reservation at any restaurant.
Yeah.
Like I think Joe had to call like 10 different restaurants just to get a reservation for our group. And we roll up and they're like, oh, you're here for the marathon. Like everybody already knows, but we pull up to Texas. I feel like in Lubbock, we had to explain to everybody why we were there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that we had to explain to a whole lot of people, but like me telling people, yeah, I'm going to Lubbock, Texas. They're like, where's that or why?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going there if you don't go to the university? But yeah, it was, I mean, USATF, when we went to that, what was it, the compliance meeting, or what do they call it? Technical meeting. Yeah. When we went, they kind of understood what it was. It's an Olympic year. All their resources went towards the Olympic trials, the Olympics, making sure those went smoothly. That I kind of think that they understood that they forgot it or like botched it a little bit in terms of marketing and promotion, because immediately after when the results were posted, the top comments on all of the various platforms were, wait, there was a national championship today. Why did you guys not advertise this?
Yeah. No, they did admit that. They admitted like opening the registration pretty late too. I don't think it was open until mid-October, late October.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even have the location posted till like December.
Yeah.
On where it was going to be.
Yeah. So, and then also they're preparing to host the World Championship in 26. So, and it's an off year, so there's like a lot of extenuating. It's pretty close after the holidays. Lubbock's hard to get to. Half the country was covered in snow. Like, there was a lot of, I think there's a lot of like factors that weighed into to the participation this year. That said, we did get to again race against an Olympic steeplechaser, Bernard Keter.
Bernard Keter.
Keter.
I don't think he's an Olympian, but did he make the Olympics this year?
Yeah, in 21.
Oh, in 21
in Japan. Yeah. Which is kind of like, it was. I did a little bit of research. So he was 11th in 21, and 5th place was our boy Yemaine Haile Selassie. Right.
Hagos
Bekele. Yeah. Our boy.
Hey, dude, that dude, he got second at Houston Marathon.
Yeah. And this guy that we're talking about, he won Pacifica. So he won PAs this year. So when you're talking about this being a PA meet, there are some connections here of Bernard racing against this dude in the Olympic final of the steeplechase 4 years ago.
Yeah, no, dude, it's so dumb. Like, they're just all these small races that you like kind of roll up to that have no, well, I guess the US championship should be competitive and stuff like that. But, dude just rolled up to Lubbock, Texas. I know he went to Texas Tech. So
yeah, he's a hometown hero for sure.
Yeah, that's why I think for sure he decided to pull up there, but it was very interesting. But what did you think of the course?
I actually like the course. I actually like the course itself. Like, take everything away.
Yeah.
And I think I like the course. I like that style of racing. It reminded me of Terre Haute, Indiana, when I was in college. That's where NCs were. Those big sort of purpose-built grass cross-country courses that were wide. I mean, it was a well-built, well-marked course. There was no tight points. I mean, at the narrowest, it was still like 30 feet wide.
Yeah. No, that's the thing about I do enjoy racing on courses that are specifically cross-country courses. They're not like a repurposed park. They're not a golf course repurposed. Like, this is a cross-country course. They built this for the purpose of a cross-country course.
Yeah. Yep, it is. And I like the course. It was 2 mile loops. There's three big 2 mile loops. Yeah. Conditions were tough though. I think that, I mean, how did you feel about the 3,200 feet? Was that greater than 0?
Dude, so to give a context of how this race played out, me and another guy, not quite sure where he was from, we got out pretty hard. And we had a little bit of a gap on the field, and I was kind of confused why. And I felt amazing through the mile to where I was like, I want to keep my foot on the gas and keep pressing. But when the leaders caught up to me, so for context, for people that were there, we Bernard Keeter, we've already mentioned him, but there's some 10-man elite guys. So like Joey Barria to another steeplechaser. I think his name is Anthony Camarera or something like that. Camareri. Um, there's some really good guys in there, some Minnesota elite guys that we race pretty frequent. And they passed me and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna tuck in. But I hit 2 miles. And at the 2 mile mark, so there's a certain feeling I get when I'm racing or when I'm doing like a VO2 workout, like a really hard one, and blood rushes to my head. Normally in a 5K, this happens around mile 2. And it's a feeling that I feel and I know like, okay, it's time to game up. You're on your last legs, meaning like now it's time to get going or now it's time to be tough. I felt that 2 miles into this race and I was like, what the hell?
Oh man.
And so already started rigging pretty hard by that point. And so I would like to say the altitude played into that just because like I said, I felt amazing in the first mile and then I felt pretty good in the second mile. But getting that feeling early on, I was like, I might have just cooked myself getting out in the first 400 ahead of everybody. And had I run it again, like I probably would have taken that into consideration, not sprinted past because like my only gauge on that line was because it was so widespread out was you and you got out harder than I did. And I was like, oh shoot, like I need to get up there.
Yeah,
So,
I got off the line well.
yeah. So I'm thinking like, I don't know, I probably should have just stayed with you rather than like trying to run past you at that point. But it was you and one other guy that I had as a gauge, and then I just kept pressing. But I'd like to say, had I not had that 3,000 feet, I probably would have hung in there a lot longer. But I do think it did play a role because a good point to call out all the altitude guys went 1 through 6.
Yeah.
No sea level guys cracked the top 6.
Yeah. I think that paints a good picture of the impact of the altitude. Because if anything, like the acclimatization of training at altitude makes you better at running at altitude. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I know that sounds kind of basic, but like I kind of felt it like same point, but for me it was probably 2K in, and it wasn't so much of a red line as it was I felt that like sort of taste of like nickels, you know,
Yeah.
in my mouth, and I was like, but yeah, it was like early onset exhaustion, and I just kind of like with that last lap, even like the last 5K, the second half of the race, I kind of got that like tightness in my upper chest, my upper bronchioles that it felt constricted, and I almost felt like that emotional sort of like when you start to, you know, become, you know, emotional and you start to almost start crying and you feel like you can't breathe. And I was like, I had to like back off a little bit because if you go down that path of like the tightness and the sort of dramatic breathing, then there's no coming back from it, right?
Yeah.
So I had to really like dial it back but from my perspective, I like, you know, talking about the start, I feel like I got out well, but like after 2K, I was in no man's land for the final, you know, 8K of the race. I think I passed 2 people. It was pretty spread out. It was just a lot, and it was super windy too.
Dude,
Go for
so
it.
like I think the wind also played a factor in how bad the altitude felt because like I
Yes.
raced at 3,000 feet in Billings. Like I've run a low 30 for a 10K in Billings before.
Right.
And Billings is about the same altitude. And I do think that you bringing up the wind, so it was like gusts of like 40 miles an hour, and it was like a consistent 20-mile-an-hour wind the entire way. Like the moments that we had wind to our face, I feel like that only exaggerated what you're talking about, the inability to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It did for sure. It exaggerated, and like I just felt like I didn't have any pop. Like I didn't have the ability to make moves and surge and like, you know, do my work. I like to do a lot of work in the last 2K, 3K in cross country races, and I just didn't have the horsepower. You know, I felt like, I didn't have the torque to really put down the energy to move up. Granted, there wasn't like, I wasn't, there was maybe 100 meters to the next person in front of me and 120 meters behind me, but yeah, it was really really big effort, and it took me a while. I don't know about you, but it took me a while to recover from that. Like, I kind of just took a down week this week. I didn't do any workouts, and I felt like not good, pretty crappy all week until I'm just now starting to feel better. Like, what, 9 days later?
Yeah, dude, I'm still pretty wrecked if I'm being honest, because I didn't take any downtime.
Yeah.
I hopped right back in. I took one double off on Tuesday so that I can work out on Wednesday and like hope that kind of gets my carrots back a little bit and like gets my energy back up. But like the issue that I had was dude, Wednesday we went a little too fast, and after that I was just kind of struggling to recover a little bit. Saturday I felt pretty good during the workout, but like, the workout was supposed to be 5 by mile at 10K. I compromised and did half marathon pace and just ran like 452s cleanly. Long run went well, but dude, today I felt like complete trash. So thank God Joe pushed our workout back from Tuesday to Wednesday. That was really relieving. I was gonna try to like not be difficult and just
do it.
Yeah, and just do it, just because like, he goes out of his way to reserve the track and stuff. So I was just gonna not be difficult, but like, dude, I was not prepared. So when I saw that email come through, it was like a sigh of relief, like thank God. But yeah, no, this race definitely took it a little more out of me than a normal 10K. Normally I work out the week of, no problem. I can bounce back pretty quick. Like shoot, my mile PB is 4 days after a 10K. That's usually how quick I bounce back. But like this time around, I'm still like really struggling to get my legs underneath me.
Yeah. And I think with you being younger and also higher mileage, I think it's the process is moving a little bit more smoother than me being nearing in on 40 here. But
yeah, dude, you're closing. You're about it. This was your last USA Cross as a non-master, right?
Yep. This is my sunset year, my last year as a young man, as I become a young old man.
Hey, bro, I gotta give it to you. You don't look 40, man. Gotta give it to you. You ain't got no gray.
I appreciate that.
Let's see the burst fade, bro. Show up for the camera.
Oh man, I've been. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, you can tell. Turn the head to the side. Yeah. Oh, look at that. My boy
trying to keep it youthful.
Yeah, dude. I golfed with Blake Molly today, and he was like, "Bro, Phil been talking about getting a new haircut for 5 years. So the fact that this dude I finally got it, like, money."
Was that Blake?
Yeah, Blake.
Yeah. I know, man. I just like I've had the same cut for forever since I was a kid, and then like honestly, we've been taking Calvin and getting him cool haircuts at the same barber that I go to, and honestly, my like 5-year-old, I'm like, dude, you got some sweet. I could pull that off. So like, yeah. But the thing is, like, now I got to go like every 2 weeks because you got to maintain the cut. You.
Yeah, dude. No, getting haircuts, man. That's like that's makeup for men, bro. So like, you can't let it get bad. You got to keep the line fresh, especially if you have like a fade type of thing. Yeah. Like it doesn't grow in that well, so you have to, or it doesn't grow in evenly. Like for me, my big issue when I get haircuts is this part grows faster than anything else, so it winds up getting thick if I don't get it cut like every 3 or 4 weeks. Yep.
I got to get an appointment. One thought I had, kind of like looking at the reaction to this event, was back in the 90s, like the national cross country meet and club national was all one meet. It was just like just one championship, and you'd get like, you get like your Alan Culpeppers, and you get like Adam Goucher, and you would get, back when Mark Coogan was a runner, those guys back in the day. And you would get all the club athletes. So it'd be like, guys like me and you.
Yeah.
Now, some chatter that was on the internet was like, after this event, with it being a smaller field and kind of the, hit or miss marketing, is, do you think do you think it's a one-off sort of anomaly and this will just improve moving forward? Or do you think that there's room to discuss like combining the events again with club cross?
In my opinion, I think they should combine the events. Like, I think it's, for lack of a better word, stupid to have them separate events. Like, you know how dumb it was trying to explain that I ran USA Club Championships and then USA Championships like 2 weeks apart from each other, and people were like, "What's the difference? How did your team do?" "Oh no, this one wasn't the team one. This is the individual one."
I got
Okay.
that question. Everybody asked me that same question. Oh, is your team going? I'm like, well, like my two buddies are going, but we don't have enough for a team. But like,
But like, I do think they should combine it. I do think it was an anomaly that this year was weak. Normally, this race is very top heavy, so there's always like some killers in the front. But this year it was just, it's Lubbock, Texas. It's an off year. There's other emphasis because like Club Cross was stacked this year. Like you had a lot of contracted people that were competing. I mean, Emma Bates raced on the women's side. You had the whole Brooks Beast team racing on the men's side. But like normally, like for context, last year when it was in Virginia, you had Cooper Tier win it. Cole Hawker got 11th. Like Drew Hunter showed up. Some other really good guys. A lot of like the former Army guys showed up. There are some really good dudes that showed up to these races, and do you think this year just it being an off year, not having an incentive, it just takes the importance away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, when you start looking at what they did back in the day and with it being combined, when you start talking about star power, right?
Yeah.
You get a little star power up front. That's going to draw attention, and maybe you get a little bit more streaming. You get some of that stuff going. Yeah, it could be cool. I think, you might have to do maybe an A and a B race. I think that would be like they've done that at Golden Gate Park, because Golden Gate Park in San Francisco can only hold so many people. So the years that they've had it at Golden Gate Park, they would have an A race and a B race just to trim down the field sizes. But I think you could make it work.
Yeah, definitely. I do think it's good. It's great for the more elite athletes to mingle with the sub-elites and the non-elites. So like having like, let's say your Cole Hawkers and your Cooper Tiers and your Hillary Boars at like the same meet as these other people, it one increases their persona because people like when the runners are the most personable. So like guys like Craig Engels, the reason they have a big following is because people think that he's a cool dude because he's very personable. But like it's hard to be fans of these other runners in terms of like being a real fan and like really getting behind them because there's no interaction, there's no personability with them. They're just these dudes that live in the mountains and train and put on a USA jersey, and that's the extent of the interaction. But like if you show up to these Club Cross meets, man, like I don't know, go get gassed up by these by the guys that are running 30 minutes in the 10K or like 32 minutes in the 10K. Like they're your biggest fans. Those are the guys who know all your results from when you were in high school till now. And the more you interact with those people, like the bigger your image comes. Those are the guys that are going to retweet you. Those are the guys that are going to repost you. Those are like guys and girls. Like those are your biggest fans are literally like the 32-minute guys, the 31-minute guys, the 30-minute
exactly.
guys.
Like, and maybe they're on a team, maybe they're number 3 or 4 man on a team that gets top 5 or top 3, and
yeah,
it's almost exactly like when I ran into Josh Kerr in the parking lot, right? It's like, it's like, yeah, I'm here. Like I ran, we got 6. So yeah, I think it's the perfect sort of melting pot because like you have, that sub, like you said, the sub elite, I think melting in well with the pro because, you can go after, there's some guys out there that level up in cross country and you might get some scalps. You know what I mean? You get, you get some guys that can sneak into the top 10 and, even make it if you made it a qualifying event too, you might get some clubs, 1 or 2 club guys that get a chance to make a world team. I was just thinking about that when I was like, kind of like going back and looking at the results and looking at what happened in the past Club National's only been around for about 20 years, which is, not that long in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, no, Lubbock was fun. I'm glad I went. I'm glad we went. And kind of like looking at the season as a whole, it was like really nice to put together a full cross country season, you know, like a true, like for me too, like, cause I did that race in NorCal, like legit, like mid-October to January, like racing every few weeks, you know, to just have like a nice, healthy, you know, consistent cross season, I think is kind of like a back to baseline for me. You know, you know, I know we've talked about it a lot, but like the marathon stuff took me a long time to recover from. So this was like a great sort of recalibration for the sort of the next phase, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. But so one thing I wanted to do then and get your opinion on, how would you feel about rating each one of your races on a letter grade scale that you did for this proper cross country season?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, we can go through both of ours, but let's start with yours. Like, how would you like what races did you do first of all? Did you do Golden Gate Park this year?
I didn't do Golden Gate Park. I did John Lawson in Marin.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, how many views does that video have now?
Oh man, last time I checked a week ago, it had 82,000. It might be close to 90 by now.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, I did John Lawson. I did Matt Yo Aggie Open. I did I think the Turkey Trot was after that. And then no, PAs was after that. Then PAs, then Turkey Trot, then Club Nationals in Lubbock. Turkey Trot part of cross country? Can we consider it part of cross country?
Yeah, yeah. We'll count that. We'll say fall winter. We'll call that cross country season, bro. When I was in college, we had some races that like had road and dirt only. Like spikes in college in California were not a thing.
Oh no, they were not. They were not,
no,
especially in high school.
You did Zoom Shriek LTs.
Yeah. Okay, John Lawson said 86,000 views, by the way.
Hey, nice.
I think I was our fifth man that day, and that was my first race in a long time. I'm gonna give myself a B plus for that one. I'm gonna give myself a B plus for that one. And then Aggie Open.
You made a lot of progress. Weren't you scored for us? Or you were like 8th or 9th?
I was our 8th man at Aggie Open. I might have been 10th man at Aggie Open.
10th man.
I don't think I ran super well at Aggie Open for like, I think I kind of was a little soft that day. Because everyone, you know, all you guys ran, you know, got out hard and I got out super conservative and I never moved. I got out kind of in the back and stayed there. I'm going to give myself like a C, just like a solid, like 74%, no plus or minus. Then what's next? PAs?
Yeah.
PAs, I feel like I did well. I was our 8th man. I made the traveling squad, full 10K cross country. I covered moves. I didn't place that high in terms of like overall. What was I, 15th or something?
Yeah, like 15th or 13th, some of that.
But like, I mean, you pretty much like you look at what was it was. That
was a stacked field, though.
It was Kenenicia, Kajelcha,
yeah,
and Yomif Barrega, and then it was who was second? Silas, who was running like a madman that day.
Locked in, dude.
Locked in. And then Brandon Gregg.
No, yeah, Brandon. No, Arrow.
Arrow. And then
Brandon Gregg, and then me,
and then you, right? So like the top 4 or 5 are all like minimum 1350, you know. I mean, and then you know 208, 211 dudes, you know, and so yeah, it was a stacked field. So like, even though I didn't race that, like, but so yeah, I would give myself A minus that day. Turkey Trot, I will give myself an A, just a solid A, because I didn't think I could run that fast. And you
hadn't run a single 400 over or under 70 seconds, but you did it for 5K.
I did it for 5K. And I just like, I honestly, I legitimately didn't see myself as a sub 15-minute guy, because I was doing fartleks and marathon pace 5:25 at Demo Man. So I'm gonna give myself a solid A there. Club nationals. Again, I think I was a little soft there. I think I could have been more aggressive early on. I got out in the 80s. I probably should have gotten the 60s. I'll give myself a B minus there in terms of like my personal performance, but I think I was proud that I was able to contribute to the team.
Mhm.
And then Lubbock, Texas, it's so hard to gauge, dude. It's like, because also like I was just coming off a holiday trip with my family. Like my flights and stuff got delayed for that, so it was hard to like. I'm gonna give myself just like a solid B. Yeah, solid B there. But it's also like, even if I had an A race, that probably only would have been 1 or 2 positions. You know, if I ran a minute faster, I mean, I would have been just behind you.
Yeah.
So like, what about you? You opened with Matt Yo Aggie Open, right?
Yeah, I did Aggie Open, PAs, Club Cross, and then Lubbock. So I only raced 4 times, which is pretty sparingly for a fall for me. Usually I'm racing like 4 times in by October.
Yeah, you didn't do a half. You didn't do a half this year.
No, so the last couple years I've struggled with Achilles injuries, and the common denominator that I came down to was it always happened 2 weeks after my half marathons. So the last 2 years I ran 64 minutes my first year, and then 2 weeks later had a crippling Achilles injury that sidelined me for like 6 weeks. And then the following year I did San Jose, ran like 64:20, and got an Achilles injury 2 weeks later. So I was like, maybe I'm just overdoing it with the fall racing, and maybe I need to give myself more time to get into shape before I like start trying to crank something fast. Cause like I ran fast both times. Some would argue San Jose was 400 meters too long. So that probably should have been my PB. Cause you know, I was clicking off.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. Clicking off 449s and got hurt. But like, so this year I decided to be a little more gracious with myself. And I said, I don't want to start doing anything remotely impressive until November in terms of training. So a lot of it was just going to be focused on volume, some getting my mileage up. And I would not have raced Aggie Open either if it were up to me, but you know, it's our home meet, so I had to show up. And also, so we'll start off with grading. So first one was Aggie Open.
Yeah.
I'll give myself a C minus for Aggie Open.
C minus.
So I haven't been outside of our top 5 very frequent, like at all since 2019.
Yeah.
Like, I think the anomaly where I was outside our top 5, or actually, no, I haven't, or the anomaly where I've been 5th or worse was at PAs in 2021. And that was the year I got 7th at PAs and 7th at Club Cross.
Yep.
And like for context, Sealess won that year, so he was the number 1 Aggie. Raj kicked like a madman. He was number 2. And you and Craig Huff outleaned me at the line.
Oh, man.
So our top 5 was within a 13-second window in that race. I thought I ran pretty well at PAs that year. It just, you know, randomly, you just don't have it in the last 400 meters. And that was the difference between 2nd and 7th that day, was just having it coming up that last hill, because I was in 3rd going up that hill, finished 7th.
Yep.
But like at Aggie Open, I fought for my life and I was our number 5 man. And that's no shade at like the rest of our team, but like a lot of the newer guys beat me, a lot of the younger guys, and again, it's no shade at them, but like I expect myself to finish up. And it's kind of like, it's not the fact that you lose races, it's how you lose them. And for me, I got out with the front guys and they just choke slammed me.
Yeah.
Like Arrow, Brendan, Greg, and Sealess just absolutely choke slammed me. And then I got passed by Cameron, Andrew, and I think it was
Jose.
Jose. Yes, I was going to call him George, but Jose. And they got out in front of me and I could not kick with them. And I just got dumpstered in the last 400 by like 10 seconds by each of them.
And so you don't give yourself a little grace for that being your rust buster, and those guys have been racing, had a couple races under the belt?
No offense, no. No, but the reason why I do try to give myself a little bit of grace, so I had like that stomach bug everybody was getting. And that week I was debating if I wanted to race or not. but I had a little chip on my shoulder because people were talking that they were going to kick my ass. So I was like, I
Oh,
got to show
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And I showed up and I didn't feel good during the race at all at any point and got my ass whooped. So I'm going to call it a C- because I did terrible. Like I
Okay.
should not lose to anybody in a 4 mile by over a minute. And I did.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I
So,
hear you. When you put it that way, by
yeah.
over a minute. Okay.
Yeah. In a 4 mile. Like
Yep.
that's not a lot of time.
Mm-mm.
So had that, and I've won that race in the past. That's why it kills me. Like there's an
Right.
apples to apples on time that you run to.
Right.
So next was PAs. I'll give myself an A minus.
Yeah.
And that's because I fought and I ran really well. It was a huge jump from those same guys that beat me by a minute, beat me by 10 seconds. So big jump in a positive direction. I only don't give myself an A is because I folded in the last 800 meters because Arrow made a move on me. I was in third.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't close the gap on Brandon. And I kind of saw with like 400 or 800 meters to go, I wasn't going to be able to catch them in front of me and there's no one behind me. So I kind of just reined it in. And to me, that's like it's a total little B word move. So looking back at that, I'm like, dude, you got to fight regardless. Like
Right.
if you are, so my goal at Club Cross was you are going to cross that line and you are going to puke your guts out. So leads us to Club Cross.
Yeah.
And Club Cross, I give myself an A because I competed. I ran a smart race. My goal was to score a low stick for the team and be a 1 or 2 guy across the line. So for me, that was tough conditions. It was windy, it was cold, it was muddy. And so for me, it was like, let's embrace this and just fight.
Yeah.
And going back to what we were talking about, when you mesh with the elites and the guys who do this full time, it is such a great feeling when you beat those people and seeing all these people with pro contracts next to me. I'm just like,
yeah,
I'm gonna take your contract, bro.
No, you were really brave that race. You ran like you put yourself in a position to succeed and you ran tough. You had to put your face all the way up there with those guys with contracts, and you ran well and you performed at a high level, and you're number one man. Yeah, I think that's you had a solid day. Looking back there, dude, you were up in the mix.
Yeah, and that's the thing that does kill me about that race too, is like it is a team race first. And I think that's why I can get the most out of myself, is because there's an objective. You're not racing for selfish pursuit. You're not going for a time. You are trying to beat as many people as possible so that you can score low for your team.
Right.
And that's like, me personally, I'm a big team guy. I love team sports. I love being that guy that's like rallying everybody together. I'm the guy like rah before the race. Like that's just me. And looking at it in hindsight too, I do look at it when I'm seeing the splits on what we're running. I ran the same exact splits as the guys between 10th and 15th. The difference was I got out 5 seconds slower through the mile, or like 10 seconds slower through the mile.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, and with knowing the course conditions, that it was muddy and it was windy, there wasn't a lot of time to move up or a lot of room to move up because of the trash conditions. Right. So part of me does wonder in hindsight, if I just sold and got out a little harder through the mile, would I have been able to finish 10th, 11th, 12th? But
yeah,
end of day, I wouldn't change how I race, because maybe I did go out 5 seconds harder through the mile or 10 seconds harder through the mile and I explode.
Yeah, it's hard to know, man, because you're right. Like, is it still going to suck either way if you get out 10 seconds faster? Is it still going to be the same amount of suck? Because it sounds like if you would have gotten out and you would have just maintained pace that you would have ran anyways, or would have you gassed yourself? Would you have had to get out in like 4:32 uphill into the wind? And, you beat a deficit and then hemorrhage some places. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And then like when you're hemorrhaging in cross country, I'm sure anybody that's like a runner understands, like you are not losing 1 or 2 spots. You're losing like 20.
No, no, especially in dude. And I'm experienced now that like, I used to be up where you are in the 20s and the teens. And now like being mid pack, it is like so dense. It's like 10 seconds could be 15 spots and even more depending on where you finish. But yeah, you're right. It's not just 1 or 2 people nipping you at the line. It's people going by you in packs.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, A also because I puked my guts out after. Like I just was on all fours, tabletop position, full vomiting. And they're like, you got to get out of here. And I like look up and just, and the guy's like, oh shoot, dude. Like, okay, look that way. We're going to get you up and like move you. So did that. So I thought I gave it my all. Conditions were rough. Did best I possibly could for my team. Walked away happy. And yeah, and then that takes me to Lubbock. I'm gonna give that one a minus.
Yeah,
Just
10th place, baby.
Yeah, so a minus because I did about what I should have done. Like the guys I didn't beat were guys that always beat me, and I didn't lose to anybody I shouldn't lose to. Except for one guy that got 7th. He balled out. He was from Minnesota. Like, I've never lost to him, but he beat his teammates who have beat me in the past. But, like, you know, I did about what I should have. I vomited a bunch at the end as well, and I couldn't breathe for like 5 minutes. I literally cried during the race at how I was at with a mile to go, audibly praying out loud, please, God, let me finish this race because
man,
closing on me.
Yep.
But I'll give it an A minus just because it's like, you know, I wouldn't change how I went about it. I went out with the top guys, and I had nothing to lose. There's no team points on the line for me to worry about. I probably wasn't going to beat Bernard Keeter that day. So, like, for me, I put myself in 4th place and ran there through 5K and exploded. I wouldn't have changed what I did, but
yeah, I mean, top 10 podium, dinner plate medal, like Flava Flav medal.
Wait,
do you have it?
I still had. Oh no, I thought I had it on my desk here, but I don't.
Man, that was blinging.
Yeah, I don't have that, but I have photos of my dog Charlie. Look at that.
Oh,
she passed away, unfortunately. But
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is Charlie though.
Oh.
I don't have any medal photos, but that's my dog.
Well, you have what's truly important near your desk.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Also, like, I think another win for us, because, like, you know, I do feel spoiled on the Club Nats trips because the team takes care of a lot of the mostly Nolan Searles. Shout out Nolan Searles, but the team takes care of a lot of the logistics in terms of transportation and hotel. Like we did it. We did that all ourselves, man. We got our own hotel, got our own rental, got our own flights, got ourselves to the technical meeting. I got our own bibs. You know,
dude, I felt like such a liability because, like, on those trips, I try to be as brain dead as possible. And, like, my goal is to compete and finish as high as possible. I'm going to let everybody else worry about where we're going to eat, like the logistics of driving. The only things I worry about is the playlist and racing well. And this time we actually had to figure some logistics out and think for ourselves, get ourselves to our flights on times, our hotels. We had to like communicate with each other, like, hey, is this hotel cool? All right, who's coming? Do we have to split it 3 ways? Are we splitting 4 ways? Do we possibly have a 4th joining? Like, where are we going for dinner? Is this place open? Is there any rooms? Do we need a res? All that, the technical meeting, getting there on time versus the other times I'm just like being dumb in my hotel room listening to Rick Ross Tiny Desk.
Yes. all of that. Yeah. No, and I think it was nice for us to share the workload. You know, Sean found the hotel, I got the rental, and we all got the same flight. So a lot of the big things we took care of early in the process. And then, you know, people just kind of jump in where they like are interested. Like, I think Sean was a little bit more interested in finding the dinner place, and I'm always like, I gotta find a Walmart, I gotta find a Winco because I want to get my yogurts and all my little things that I want. So everyone kind of jumps in sort of naturally where they want to.
Yeah, the only thing I contributed was let's go to Torchy's Tacos.
Oh, that's Torchy's. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, no, the trip was good. Great season. I'm very grateful, and I'm happy. Looking forward to what's next. With that said,
on the calendar.
Yeah. What I don't have a whole lot on the calendar yet. I some PA road races. I really want to do the Sacramento 10 miler. That's probably like my main focus. And then I might do the Reading 10 miler, which is in early March.
Would you fly or are you driving there?
I would probably drive. I'll probably get a message going in the group to see if anyone wants to carpool, because that would be a lot of gas to save.
Hey, maybe you can get Sean to go with you, honestly, because he doesn't know what he wants to do yet, because I think he's going on vacation in like May. So he might be someone that just to have something to do might go.
Yeah. I'll talk to Sean. And then 10 miler, and then I'm kind of like very tentatively looking at this race in Philadelphia called the Broad Street Run. It's a 10 miler, and I have family from Philadelphia. It's a pretty well known race. Like professionals show up and run fast there. So I would it would be an elite race. I probably could get an elite entry, but that, and then Centipede, and then maybe one of those Golden Gate Park 5Ks. I just want to get back on the roads. I mean, maybe Joe Rubio convinces me. Maybe you guys convince me to do like the C heat of the Mark Conover Classic and the 1500, but I don't really see myself getting on the track this season. But again, I can be convinced as long as it's not too much.
Yeah,
like I'm not. What?
What about the PA meet, the indoor meet in Reno?
Oh, I'm not like. I would say the farthest I would go is maybe like a
Reading.
No, for track. Like, I'm not doing like a crazy trip for track and field for my own. I would do that like Conover Classic or maybe the SF State thing. But what was your question? Sorry.
Oh, which question?
Oh, Reno. Yeah.
Yeah, Reno. I was like, which one? I was like, what's next, or Reno?
Reno. Yeah. So that's kind of what I have tentatively planned. Just want to stay consistent.
Yeah.
Because my overarching goal is a healthy transition to the master's level.
Yeah.
I want to be just healthy and consistent and ready to make that next phase. What about yourself?
I
guess indoor. Yeah.
Yep. I got Seattle in a couple weeks. I'm debating if I want to do a 3K mile double. Just because I'm making the trip up, and like I think I could recover from the 3K and run a mile the next day. However, I don't want to like self-sabotage and like just have 2 bad races or just focus on the mile. But right now, tentatively, I'm doing the mile in Seattle in like week and a half or 2 weeks from now.
What is that? What is that called? The qualifier, last chance? Is that a Husky?
Oh no, that one is just UW Invitational.
You would invite, okay.
Yeah, and then after that, I plan on going to Boston for BU Valentine.
Yeah, you did that last year, right?
I did the Terrier Classic last year.
Oh, okay.
The 30th, but I'm just giving myself a little more time. I want to do a rust buster first, and like I feel I do better like busting rust doing a mile than I do a 5K. So going first for something shorter, something faster, and then using that fitness to run fast. I think I'm in I think I'm in my best 5K shape I've ever been in. So I really want to run a fast time and then just use the extra benefits that the Boston track has to offer. So looking forward to ripping that. So those are my 2 big ones. And then I have the 10 on the calendar, the Sound Running 10. And yeah, that'll be my little indoor block and just see if I can get some times on the board. And get ready build some healthy habits to get ready for outdoor and just kind of see like when I do race these indoor races, what I'm lacking or like what I need to do or what I need to go back to, if I need to go back to doing double thresholds or if I need to keep honing in the VO2 stuff, if the pace doesn't feel comfortable. So yeah, really excited.
Nice. Are you now when you because the 10's late March, are you going to take a little downtime after that? Or are you going to go right? Like Brian Clay's like 3 weeks after that, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's like, 3 weeks after that. I don't know. That's going to be a question for Joe. Cause he and I have talked about it, but, he told me, don't think past the 10. He said, just mark that on your calendar. Like, and if you run he was saying, if you run a fast time at BU, like that'll get you into meets in June and July. So like you can run a fast 5K later. And then, so he said for now, just focus on BU and the 10 because he's like, you're healthy, you're fit, you're closing workouts in low 2s for 800s on a dime. He's like, and you've never been able to do that. So like the fact that we can do a bunch of work and then you're closing fast, like you're in really good shape. So let's just focus on the 5K through the 10, get some times on the board, and then we'll decide from there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And it's great that we have Joe as our coach, because that's really good. It's good because like I feel like, you know, I would get very hyper focused on like something like Brian Clay. Like back in my day, it was Cardinal. It was that was the hyper focus, right?
Yeah.
And I would get very like, oh, I have to do this race. But like, you know, sometimes it's nice to take a step back. And hey, if you run something nice in those races, that's going to open opportunities down the road. And two, with World Championships being in September, right?
Yeah.
And then
USA's late August.
Late August. So the pro circuit is much more detached from the collegiate circuit this year.
Yeah.
So you might have some stuff popping up in June, July, you know, some sound running or some somethings popping up in June, July, where, you know, you'll have more opportunities, because a lot of times those races, they'll have an elite section, but they still need to, you know, they have everything. They have the timing, they have the streaming, they have the track reserved and all that. They'll have other divisions available too. So you're right. I think, you know, it will open up some doors if you, you know, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, if I really want to go back into like a little down cycle, like the 10K is mostly strength based. So like I can spend February 15th through March 20th doing some basic workouts and probably still run a good 10K, because like I'd probably just go back to doing double thresholds or like doing some longer, like 2x4 mile type workouts.
No, and
then race pace in there.
Exactly. Yeah. You could easily down cycle. And Josh Kerr did it after setting the world record in the indoor 2 mile, right? And then Grant Fisher did it after he ran the 10, right? And came back and was ready to roll. So like it's a proven method of success, that you don't necessarily have to be peaked for 16 weeks straight.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, lots of fun stuff coming. You know, we got some stuff in the works. We got some stuff. So stay tuned to the Lane One Talk Show. What do you think, Mark? Good episode? I
think we're good.
Yeah. We definitely wanted to touch base on Lubbock, what's next for us, and
hopefully you guys enjoy the next one. We got a special treat coming.
And not going to give away much now, but stay tuned. Follow us along, like, comment, subscribe to Lane One for more great content.
Peace.